morning. I swear a lot.
It is 16 past 3 in the PM, and you're watching The Foreman, or listening. I'm your host, Foreman, and hey, another opportunity to check in, see how you're doing, talk about stuff. I'm doing alright. Still playing Final Fantasy XIV, of course, but I also picked up MechWarrior 5, and I've been doing lots of, mech stuff, which is fun. I always enjoy mech stuff, and I haven't actually been in the cockpit of a battle mech since MechWarriors 2, so to now do that with, modern graphics and shit and game design has been very interesting. I still think MechWarrior 2 is, the more intense game, as it were. I don't know, something about that just felt right, but MechWarrior 5 is still very good, and the soundtrack is pretty goddamn solid. But believe it or not, shocking, I know, not actually here to talk about mechs today. I know. Maybe someday, more again. We did that for a while, maybe we'll do it again more soon. But not right now. Right now, I want to talk about something that MechWarriors actually inspired me to think about to then come here and talk about. And that's that while I was playing MechWarrior, right, and I was piloting a Jenna, which is my favorite mech. It's a small little two-legged, no-armed biped thing, and you can zip around in it, and it's fun. I like that thing. But it moves very fast, and it moved in beat with the music, which had lots of guitar and stuff in it. It was very cool. And I remember thinking to myself, I could record this. This might be cool for a recording. I probably won't. I'm probably not going to do MechWarrior 5, but I had the idle thought. And then that idle thought prompted me to think more on the fact that I can record whatever I want. I can do whatever I want with this channel, right? I'm literally in charge. There is no one to answer to. You could argue, yes, the viewers, but that's even that. If I didn't care what views I got, I have complete and utter creative freedom, and I still technically do, in the sense that, I can just throw stuff out and see what happens. I wanted to talk about how creative freedom is a very cool thing to have. It's fantastic to be able to just make your own decisions, do what you want, no one can tell you what to do what interests you, do what you think would work, do what you want to do, right? That's fantastic. But pure, unadulterated, unlimited, unfiltered creative freedom is also terrifying, because you're sat there and you're like, I don't know, I don't think this series is doing very well, for an example. I think I should probably swap that one out. I'm kind of done with it anyway. Let's do something else. What the fuck do I do? Right now, that's not happening at the moment. I'm still happy to continue Vampire the Masquerade. I'm enjoying I nearly said Bionautica. I'm enjoying Subnautica. I'm having fun with that. And Limbus. If it wasn't Limbus, it would be, another PM thing anyway. So that slot's kind of taken care of, and I don't have to worry about it. And I especially don't have to worry about it right now, because we're not done with Canto 7. So that's not a problem. I'm not making this decision at the moment. I know exactly what I'm doing at the moment, and at this exact moment in time have no desire to change any of it. But the time will come. I might not beat vampires, or if I do, I don't think it's that long a game in the grand scheme of things. It's fairly long. It's an RPG, CRPG, but not that long. Subnautica, shit, man, I don't know. I'm going to go till I run out of steam, which could be in a couple episodes, or it could be in 10 episodes. Who knows? Point is, eventually, the time will come when I have to make a decision again. Now, Subnautica can be replaced by the poll, right? The poll that I let you guys vote on to decide what the next game is. But this brings me further, in fact, to the creative freedom element, in that I can just stop doing that poll whenever the fuck I want. I won't, because I think it's a fun way to get you guys involved more actively in deciding what you want to see, and you guys deciding for me what to play ensures that I get to play stuff that I wouldn't necessarily pick, which then provides me with new experiences. I wouldn't have picked Subnautica. I wouldn't have chosen that for the channel, and I'm enjoying it, so this shows how that works. I probably wouldn't have picked Ender Lilies for the channel, but I loved Ender Lilies. I thought that was a fantastic game. I would have never have chosen it for the channel, because I don't know, I probably wouldn't have. There are other Metroidvanias I could have done, right? But no, that one turned out to be really fun. But the point is, I have that option. I know this sounds like a weird thing to talk about, so let me give you a bit of context before we continue, right? As a kid, I never really grasped autonomy. I know that's weird, but bear with me. I never really grasped the concept of autonomy. As a child, I did what I was told, or didn't. You know what I mean? But I didn't really make decisions outside of any kind of box. Every decision I made existed in a very contained, very seemingly irrelevant to everything outside of it context, you know? Like, I can either clean my room or I won't clean my room. I don't want to clean my room. I'm not thinking right now about how that might lead to, well, I'll have to clean the room later and also I might get shouted at. I've just decided in this moment I don't want to clean my room, so I'm not going to. And that persisted for a lot, not that specific quandary, but that mindset, that inability to think outside the box or see the bigger picture in things persisted throughout a lot of my childhood until, gotta be honest, I'd say until I was maybe even in my 20s. Like, even as a late teenager, young adult, I wasn't really making decisions as such. Like, what to do after school? I flipped through a book, picked catering and went, sure, I'll give that a try, and then didn't like it. So I was like, well, I did media in school, so I guess I'll do media in college. And then I did. And I was like, I need a job now. So I wandered into Primark and I got a job. And I was like, this job sucks. So I left and I went somewhere else. And I was like, okay, I'll get a job here then. And there was no thought beyond, what do I need? What do I need to do? I need to do this. All right, well, I'll go do it then. And that mindset can be good, that kind of Occam's razor style of like narrow focus, tunnel vision, just do the thing, get it done, and now it's done and I've done it. But it wasn't until, I'd say maybe early 20s to late 20s, where I was like, you always have choices. Some of them are very bad, some of them are terrible, so bad in fact that they aren't even really considered choices. You know, like, I could go outside and eat mud. That's not actually a choice, because my brain goes, no, that's stupid, you're not fucking doing that. But that is a choice I can make, technically. That is pure autonomy. That is the concept of autonomy. I can go do that. The point is, it took me a long time to realize this, but it's actually got me to the point where nowadays I can make decisions quite critically. And also, weirdly, it helps with your problem solving. Like, for instance, if I go out on a job with Luke, like, we had to build out a fucking wall at some point with wood, and it was just not a good foundation. And we stared at it for ages. And it's like, I don't know how the fuck we're going to do this. And I don't even remember precisely the solution we made, but by just kind of not looking at it too conventionally and thinking a little bit more outside the box, I was like, well, we could set it up like that and then put that there and then that could support that and that would work. And we made it work, and that happened. And you look at that wall now and it looks like it was done by professionals, and it wasn't. It was done by me and Luke. But, you know, adopting that mindset, it took a very long time to get there, has helped a lot in my life. And it definitely helped with this channel, where I'm like, someone in my position might go into this and be like, all right, well, what's fucking trending? I'll do that. Nah, go outside the box, look around, go around things. This is good for playing stuff like vampires as well, because you're like, well, I could walk in through the front door, but I bet there's a locked door around the back that would be a little sneakier. You know what I mean? I know I'm not describing anything to you guys that likely most of you aren't already aware of or have been aware of your entire lives, but for me, it was something that came quite late. It just occurred to me quite late, don't know why. Couldn't tell you. I have no specific reason why that was the case, it just was the case. And that brings me back to creative freedom, right? Where I have that unlimited freedom, that autonomy to do whatever the hell I want with this channel. I could cancel every single series right now and just do Deep Rock Galactic for the rest of my career. Nothing else, nothing but just running Deep Rock missions every single fucking day. I could dump the channel entirely and lean into making music. I don't want to do that, but that is a thing I can do. I could do an entire second series of Lunacid acts pretending I hadn't played it before. Is that stupid? Yes. Yes, it is. It's very stupid, but that is a thing you can technically do. There is no limit to the decisions you can make, and that, in regards to a channel, is scary because, you know, the context in which I've talked about a lot of this stuff is taking, weirdly, nothing else into consideration. None of the pressures of reality, right? Attempting to grow a channel, attempting to retain an audience, attempting to make some money off of it to fund the continued running of said enterprise. But now we have to bring those contexts back into the situation, those factors back into this context, right? Okay, well, I need to make decisions where I need to play stuff that I think you guys will want, you know, that I think will be entertaining, I think you guys will actually want to see, because a lot of videos on YouTube can be simply dead on arrival regardless of their quality if it's just not something people think they want, which is weird, but it's true. I could do the best, I say could, not as if it's within my ability, I'm just saying it is a possibility. I could do the best Helldivers 2 videos you've ever fucking seen. I could do the most incredibly cool Helldivers 2 videos ever, but if no one watches them, then it wouldn't even matter. right? If someone's like, well, I don't need to watch Foreman play Helldivers. I've already got someone I go to for Helldivers. I'm not interested in watching Foreman do that. That could be the best video in the world. It could also be utter garbage, but no one will ever know. It's Schrodinger's video. It's amazing and terrible. No one knows because no one watched it. So some measure of logic is required in choosing things. You have to assess your own audience. In my case, it's not too complicated. Basically, everyone likes, PM stuff. Right, Limbus is very popular, and Brunner and Lobotomy Corporation and all that. That's easy to determine. And sure enough, there is a slot in my weekly rotations for PM stuff. That totally makes sense. But I don't want to be a PM channel. I don't want to just play one type of game or play games from one series for the rest of my career. That sounds horrifically boring, and it would crash months or years down the line when I simply run out of things to talk about in regards to it. Need that variety. So the other two slots, right? Then there's the vote, and that basically sorts itself out. But for that third one, which I have solved this problem now, the third slot is whatever the hell I want to play. Vampires isn't performing very well. I expected that. That is of no surprise to me whatsoever. I did not think really for a moment that my fan base was going to be particularly interested in Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. There was no, I was under no illusion to that fact, right? That was clearly going to be the case, and that's absolutely fine. Does not bother me in the slightest. But that's the thing, right? In an attempt to kind of tame the complete and utter limitlessness of my potential decisions in regards to running this channel, I have created my own limitations, my own restrictions, my own set of rules, of paradigms, of protocols, as it were, where it's like, okay, we go Limbus, fan voted, and whatever I want, and that's the 3-video rotation. But I don't have to do that. And that's something that is also scary, where it's like, well, I could sit here, I could wake up one day and just be like, you know what? This rotation thing I've got going, it's not working. Or I don't think it's working. Or I don't really want to do it anymore. And then just do something entirely different. And it's great to have that freedom, but it's also terrifying because the potential capacity for self-sabotage is so, and not even intentional self-sabotage, but unintentional self-sabotage is so high. It's omnipresent. It's always there. At any time, I could make a stupid decision that fucks everything over. It's so real a possibility, and I have to carry that weight every day. Like Spike Spiegel. I have to carry that weight. It's scary. It's not like a constant anxiety-riddling fear or anything like that. I talk about it here. It sounds a lot more dramatic and inhibiting than it actually is. It's not. Trust me. I'm not living in terror every fucking day. Sometimes you just get on with shit. And I enjoy doing this. If I was living in terror every day doing this, I wouldn't fucking do it, right? I'd go anywhere else. So it's not that bad. But it's an interesting concept to me, and something that subconsciously informs my daily life is that battle between creative freedom and self-set limitations to what I can do for a video. And I skirt the boundaries of this sometimes. I put a couple toes over the line. What we're doing right now, in fact, is me kind of putting my toe over that line. There is no slot in the schedule for Foreman Talks. I just do this whenever, or when I'm feeling practical, when I'm feeling a little pragmatic. I do this when I'm like, right, I need more videos and I don't have time to make them. So we'll talk for a bit, because this is very easy to edit. I've said this a million fucking times, but it bears repeating. This is very quick and easy to edit. So it makes sense in that regard. It's a win-win, because I also get to talk, and I like to talk. I like to discuss things, hence why we're here. But this is me, yeah. Messing around with that self-set limitation, those self-set rules that I put in. When I did RE4 Mercenaries the other day, that was me towing the line as well, and that performed like garbage, but I don't care. I did that because I wanted to do it, because it was fun, because I spent 15 videos of Phoenix Rice sat here watching people talk. Very entertaining dialogue, I will say. But just sat here watching people talk and not really getting to play anything, that I decided to go on the complete other end of the spectrum in regards to Capcom gameplay and play an extremely arcadey survival horror shoot-'em-up situation. And you know what? I really enjoyed myself. It was a lot of fun. But that's me straying along that path away from the self-set rules I've made towards complete creative freedom. with the knowledge that I actually always have complete creative freedom. But it's an intimidating prospect because I can literally do anything. There is nothing stopping me. It's not like I work for a company who's saying, hey, we want you to focus on, I don't know. We want you to focus on Baldur's Gate 3 videos. Baldur's Gate 3 is hot. Focus on that, right? And there are, pluses and minuses to such a thing. The plus is that you don't have to worry about making such decisions. You can just crack on with what's been put in front of you. The downside is when the thing put in front of you is something you don't want to do, and you're like, oh, this is crap. So, there's plus and minuses to both things. Whereas with creative freedom, like, yeah, I can choose what I want, but that doesn't mean anyone else wants it. There is no figure, there is no presence telling me that, like, yeah, this is a good idea, or no, this is a bad idea. I just have to make decisions. It's something that, I only became a quote-unquote small business owner, I guess, like 2 years ago. And this is not something I've ever had to contend with before in my life. In school, the teachers told me what to do. In college, the tutors told me what to do. At home, my parents told me what to do. And at my job, my boss told me what to do. I did not do badly in those things because I had people to just be like, go do that. That thing over there, go do it. Maybe this is why I like management games so much, or maybe why I find them so interesting, because now I'm making the decisions. Now I'm out there deciding things. It all comes down to what I decide to do. It's my plan of action, and there's no one else to take credit or responsibility for it. It's all on me. Success or failure rides entirely on myself. I think that's kind of why I like being a solo act as well. And as much as I would love to have an editor, oh boy would I. But perhaps why I'm more comfortable working on my own is because success or fail, it's all on me. If I fuck up, no one else is going to suffer for it. But if I succeed, I get all the credit. It seems like a win-win in that regard. The downside is that the workload is fucking ridiculous. But, trying to find a balance on video length nowadays is actually difficult. And that's another thing that ties into creative freedom. Guys, this literally impacts every aspect of my daily life, especially when it comes to making videos. How long do I make a video? How long do I record for? When do I stop? When I'm editing it? How am I going to edit this? Am I going to carve this fucker up, or am I going to keep it a bit more free form and loose and long form? These are decisions I have to make every day. And it's, I'm not sat here agonizing over every single decision I make. I'm personally not much of a planning guy. I'm very reactive. I go with the flow. I go with what I feel. I go with what I decide in the moment. So I'll go into editing, I don't know, Subnautica, and I'll be like, I take each scene, each moment of the footage I'm going through as I see it, where I'm like, yeah, I could see this being funny if it's cut together a bit quickly, or, oh yeah, this moment needs to play out a little bit, pacing is obviously very important, and there needs to be a bit of build up, and, oh, here we got a nice shot going through the ocean, yeah, I'll just kind of let that go for a while, but these are decisions, and I'm not the only one. I'm not sat here talking to you about this like I'm the only person who has to deal with this kind of thing, or only people in my field have to deal with this kind of thing. We all have to deal with this every fucking day. We have, in truth, full autonomy over all of our lives. We can make any decision we want. It's just you have to be able to deal with the consequences afterwards. And the scarier parts of that is not knowing what those potential consequences are. You make decisions and you get blindsided and you're like, I had no idea that was even going to happen. It's scary. Luke gets blindsided by something every 2 weeks, I swear. Actually, that might be generous. Probably every week. Poor guy. You can make informed decisions. Like, some of the Limbus videos recently, for example, have been shorter than usual. We're leaning more towards the hour mark, right? Between 45 minutes and an hour. But Limbus videos have been getting a little shorter, and the Limbus video I put up today at time of recording, which is the 7th of December, a couple people were like, this is quite short. And I'm like, well, I mean, yeah, it is. Like, I'm not going to pretend it isn't. I'm like, is it getting too short? Are they getting too short? Am I shortening them too much? Like, what's the balance here? The problem, of course, is that I set an expectation to you guys back in the day. I did set an expectation, especially during Ruiner, which was long form videos every fucking day, which might have been one of the dumbest things I've ever done in my life, to set that expectation. But to be fair to myself, I didn't see any other way of doing Library of Ruiner. That game is long. and scenes are long, and combat is long. Now, actually, there is one thing I would do in the editing for Ruiner if I could go back, and that's cut down the combat sections in a major way. They didn't need to be that long. I didn't need to show every single fucking decision I made. I don't think that was necessary at all. I could have cut them up and much more, and the videos probably would have been at least a bit more manageable in their size. But I set that expectation. I gave you guys that expectation that, like, yeah, videos are typically going to be like an hour and a half, like every single one, and that's not realistic. But I put that rule, as it were, on myself, where I'm like, well, every video is long form because that's what I do. I'm long Foreman. Sorry. Yeah, but that's just what I do. I've set that standard. That is the rule I now follow. All my videos are going to be super long, and it was only semi-recently, I think, after watching a few other creators, where one of them was like, yeah, I have limited editing on these videos because you know, I have to maintain a work-life balance. And that made me think, because I was like, my work-life balance is fucking garbage. It's really bad. I spend most of my time doing this. Like, a lot of my time doing this, or doing something in relation to this. And that prompted the need for change. But I had to, once I set that tunnel vision mindset of like every video needs to be of a certain length, or at least a certain length, or I don't feel like I'm doing my job properly, and I needed to break from that to be like, okay, step back and look at this. Does every video need to be like 2 hours? And the answer is no. That doesn't mean I can't. I could totally do that. And I like making long form videos sometimes. I like making long videos. I like having them. But I also need to be realistic and be like, if you want to like have time to exercise and play with your dogs and see your friends, then you might need to tone these back a little bit. And plus, for some people, you know, they click on YouTube, they boot it up, they look at their videos, and they see one that's like an hour and 47 minutes, and they go, nah, I'm good, thank you. I don't have an hour and 47 minutes to kill. Some people do, some people don't. Ain't no judgment coming from me. I love my long form shit. I love watching long form shit as well. It's just that I had to break that mental block to be like, okay, step back. Think about this. You don't have to make an hour and a half video every single day. No one is telling you you have to make an hour and a half video every single day. The only person telling you you have to do that is you. I'm talking about myself here, obviously. But that is, it is the dangers of creative freedom, right? That pure, unmoderated creative freedom. Now, don't get me wrong. Given the choice, would I prefer to have creative freedom or have someone tell me what to do? I prefer creative freedom. At the very least, when it comes to running my business. I prefer being able to do what I want. I prefer being able to make what I want. I prefer being able to make those decisions. And I prefer being able to revoke those decisions if I change my mind. If I want to stop doing the poll, I will stop doing the poll. I don't have to ask anyone's permission for that. Yes, it would be shitty. Yes, you guys would be upset, and I don't want to do that. Of course I don't. Like, I would not make a decision purely for that purpose, and indeed, that aspect of that decision would disincentivize me from doing such a thing, because I don't want to upset anyone. But if I was like, look, this poll shit's getting ridiculous, or whatever, or I was like, there's two things I really want to do at the moment, then there's no room for the poll, then I would have to just, then I could make that decision. It's, like, you know, I don't think anyone expects or thinks that, like, a YouTuber is just taking orders from someone else, but I don't think one tends to realize how much or how little guidelines, how little guidance, how little direction there is until you get there and you're like, I can literally do anything. And this, I realize, this is why people become themed channels. This is why you get Total War channels. This is why you get Project Moon channels and Deep Rock channels and Final Fantasy 14 channels and stuff, because that provides walls, that gives a focus, right? It's like, well, I wake up today, what am I going to do? Well, I'm going to do Final Fantasy 14 because that's what I do. That's my thing. That's what I record. I do this sort of thing. I'm going to do it every day. But at what point does someone go up to them and be like, you know, you don't actually have to do that every day. You could literally at any moment change your mind. But I feel like people put those blinkers on themselves to keep them focused. Because too much freedom for some people, and I don't say that acting like, oh, people who aren't as good at this as I am, because I've struggled with it before and I struggle with it to this day. People who can't handle that level of just expansive freedom apply those blinkers to themselves to keep them focused. I've talked before, I don't like Minecraft. I think it's too open-ended and there's no purpose to anything, and I just get, I don't know, nothing I do feels like it matters. It's like, I made a wood house, hooray. I made a giant penis out of gold, fantastic. All right, I'm bored. You know, I want some structure. That's not to say that Minecraft is bad or that people are wrong for liking it. I completely understand the joy of the creative freedom of Minecraft, especially since that's my fucking job, is that level of creative freedom. But I don't want it in a game. But I do want it in my job. It's strange. It's bizarre. The way the human mind works alongside these kind of things is beggars belief sometimes. It's especially difficult when you can't understand your own inclinations on this front. But it does make things tricky. But let's take this a step further, shall we? Because let's say, for instance, you know, oh yeah, I can pick whatever game I want and present that video in whatever fashion I choose. But at the end of the day, let's say, for example, I choose to do the story mode of Resident Evil 4. Well, the events of the video are kind of along a fairly linear path in the sense that the game proceeds in a certain way, right? You will show up at that shack at the start of the game. Leon will kick that guy's head off. No amount, unless you just don't play that far, no amount of like creative freedom or liberty will stop that from occurring. That is baked into the footage that is going to be recorded, and therefore that is automatically going to be a part of the video unless you choose to edit it out. But you know what I mean. That is something hard-coded. Let's move on to something more complicated and more intimidating, right? Writing. Terrifying. That terrifies me, right? Because you're like, okay, I like writing stuff, right? Cool. So what do you write? Do you write haikus? Do you write poems? Do you write short stories? Do you write long stories? Do you write romantic fiction? Do you write, I don't know, are you even fiction? Do you go non-fiction? Do you just write essays and stuff? Some people like writing essays. Do you go romantic? Do you go fantasy? Do you go comedy? Do you go horror? So you have to choose from all of that, which is already intimidating in of itself. And, you know, a focus on length, and then, okay, first person perspective, swap between the two. What are we going with here? How are we portraying the character's thoughts? What kind of character are they? You have to come up with each individual character whose characterization can be virtually limitless, like any number of combinations of personality traits, or you could literally make them up, or they could be complete and utter gibberish. And then moving on from that, you actually have to write the fucking thing, and you're picking from all the words that have ever existed in human language to write your story. And sometimes if it's a fantasy setting, you have to make them up. That's terrifying to me. That is like, I don't know. It's like standing in the middle of the vacuum of space, and there's just nothing everywhere. It's just so wide, so expansive. Like, I could not handle such a thing. Now, of course, likely some grounding is provided by things such as, you know, what do you like writing about? So, for instance, a fanfiction author has some granted grounding on that front because they know what they want to write about. They want to write about Sonic the Hedgehog being pregnant. Sorry. But you get what I'm saying. Personal preference grounds a bit, but I would still find writing to be definitely one of the more terrifying examples of that. The other one is music. Music is terrifying. There are more limitations there, I suppose, that allow you to work within the confines of, to not just go too far off the rails. But you use any instrument you want, with any arrangement of notes that you want, to, whatever tone, and like, it can sound like shit, but it's your song. If you want to make it like that, you can. There's nothing saying you can't. Me and Luke could release a song tomorrow that's just me punching the ground while he chants. We can do that. It's not advised by conventional wisdom, but we can do that. That is available to us. That is a thing that can be done. True creative freedom. It's a gift and a curse. It's a blessing and a horrible, horrible affliction. Once again, I much prefer having creative freedom to not having creative freedom. I will continue to reiterate that point because it is the essence of what I do. And weirdly, despite how I've described myself, right, this leans a bit more into the paradox that I am. Growing up, you know, I would do what I was told, basically, just because I didn't really have the capacity to think for myself. But I would very, very, very stubbornly rebel against a situation where I felt like I was being either told to do something that I didn't necessarily want to do or had no agency over, or if I felt like I was being forced into a situation where someone was like, no, you have to go do this, and I'm like, fuck you, I ain't doing it. Like, even if it's the right thing to do, you're trying to make me do it, so I'm not going to do it. You can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, you know. And I would rather die of dehydration than be forced to drink water in that context, if you know what I mean. So adjusting to this has been difficult, like, throughout my life. Like, over the past 6 years or so, I can't remember how long the channel's been going for, it's nearly 6 years now. Adjusting to that has been difficult. It was fine when I didn't have an audience, I suppose, because I literally just played whatever the fuck I felt like, or what I thought would be a good idea. As I gained an audience, and don't get me wrong, it's a lot better having an audience than not having an audience, let me fucking tell you. The decisions became more... they carried more weight. There was more weight to them, right? Because there's an audience to maintain. I want to make you guys happy, so I need to think about the decisions I make to try and achieve that result. And sometimes it doesn't work out that way, and it's terrifying, but this is the way, it's always been the way I wanted it to be. Like, there's no two ways about that. There's just a lot of the little things that you don't necessarily anticipate before you do it. That pure freedom to do whatever the hell you want professionally is scary, but if you can navigate it, it's extremely satisfying and fulfilling. That's the truth of it. That's the fact. Especially in this field. I imagine in other fields too. I don't know. I can't speak for them because I'm not in those fields. I'm not a professional musician. I don't get paid to play music. I'm just a musician. And even that is with quotation marks. So I can only talk from the perspective of being a small business owner, quote unquote, and also from being a YouTube presenter. That's pretty sweet, honestly. I quite like it. You should give it a try. If you're thinking about giving it a try, definitely do so, but I'm not going to go on that spiel at the end of a Foreman Talks. Again, we do that a lot. But, yeah, this one's been a bit all over the place. I apologize for how unfocused it's been. Appropriate, don't you think, given the subject matter? But that's all from me for today. Friends, thank you so much for listening. Special thanks to our members and patrons, Tony the Horse, Cryolytic, Abyssal Angie, Ember Fox, Ninja Dog, I got that wrong way around, terribly sorry, Grand Captain General Peace, Meanbag Beanbag Turtle, Malignant Humor, Cuds, Canis Samaria, Poe, Pork Chop Lebrec, Lifesteal, Mega Mr. Z-Man, Unclever Names, Summercat, Flanny, Pincher Jagoon, Lilac Sire, Lip Potatoes, Proxy, Caminera, Moa, Heartland, Harak J, Dressed OC on Distance, Lol, Etherbin, Linky, Zeon, Cedar, Bimboards, Majoko, Maimu, now Kia, Honeydew, Sweet Baby Red, Jess Kitty, Plutonium Pie, Trimago, Slap Lullaby, K-Bub, Magical, The Frostbite, Monsoon, SCP-106A, Namad, and Kenny T800 for supporting me on YouTube and Patreon. Thank you so much, guys, and thank you all so much for watching and listening. I wanted to ask you about what your thoughts are, but I don't know how to ask the question because the topic has been so fucking scattered and ridiculous that I don't know what to hone in on and be like, how do you feel about this? Because it's been all over the place, and I don't even know if this is a thing that other people really think about. Or maybe it's just something that everyone else deals with completely easily and normally, and it's not even something that is a blip on their radar. Like, I've talked about all this, and people are just like, yeah? Like, I don't know. I'm not in your head, I don't know. But let me know your thoughts, at least in regards to some of the crap I've said today. This has been some word vomit for real. Like, absolute nonsense. But I'd be interested to hear your thoughts nonetheless. And whatever we talk about next time, I hope I see you there. Doodles. Goodbye.